Mom posts photo of new pup, husband rushes home. Holly feels a shiver creep up her spine as she takes a picture of the puppy racing around in her home, and she sends it to her husband. At first, she thought the puppy was cute, but the more time she spent with it, the more she wondered if she had made a big mistake. Her phone beeps, then suddenly the puppy starts to growl, its piercing eyes looking straight at Holly. She stands frozen in her tracks, scared to make even the tiniest movement. She reads the message, and it's from her husband. "That's not a dog," he wrote. "You need to get out. Now." Holly Jones had a lot to be thankful for. You see, she had a life all women long for. A perfect husband, a stunning home, and 2 cheeky 5-year-old twins. But this devoted mom had no idea what was coming one Saturday morning. She thought it was just going to be an ordinary day, but she was so wrong. It started off as a typical Saturday for Holly. She took her 2 twins, Sam and Sally, to their grandparents to spend the day, and then she went grocery shopping in the afternoon. But when she headed home ready to unload her bags of groceries, she had no idea what was waiting for her. When Holly found out she was pregnant 4 years ago with twins, she was over the moon. Although the thought of having twins was daunting at first, Holly and her husband knew they would be the greatest parents. When the twins were finally born, Holly was overcome with emotion. But she knew something was else missing from their near-perfect family. You see, Holly had wanted to get a dog as a pet ever since the twins were born. As a little girl, her family had a dog, so she knew firsthand how good they can be for young children. However, Holly and her husband couldn't decide what dog to get. And after a few rejected offers, they decided to put the idea on hold. But when Holly arrived home after a busy Saturday morning, she saw something outside her house that left her lost for words. With her trunk full of groceries, Holly pulled up to her home ready to stock up her cupboards with her recent supermarket shop. She hopped out of the car and made her way to the trunk. Then suddenly, she saw something at the front of her house. She couldn't make out exactly what it was, but as soon as she saw it, Holly was left with a shiver up her spine. Holly closed the trunk and slowly made her way closer to her house. As she got closer, Holly realized this thing at the front of her house looked like a puppy. It was lying down, panting and growling. What was it doing here? Holly's heart ached with sympathy for this poor pup. What a cute puppy, she thought to herself. Little did she know how wrong she was. Holly knew she had to do something to help this puppy. She had to take it inside and give it some water. She reached down and petted it, to which the pup responded with a light growl. The puppy didn't have any tags, and after a few minutes, Maria managed to usher it inside her home. But she had no idea she just made a big mistake. The puppy roamed around Holly's home, embracing all the new smells and sights. Holly stood across the room watching it while questions flooded her mind. She didn't know how her husband was going to react to this puppy in their home, but she couldn't have just left it outside. Little did she know what this puppy actually was. Holly snapped a picture of the puppy and sent it to her husband, who was at work. She waited for his response and gave the puppy a small pillow to play with. Within a mere few seconds, the puppy had ripped the pillow to shreds. And just as Holly told the puppy off, she received a message from her husband. She read her husband's reply and she was lost for words. Holly rereads her husband's message while panic creeps up her spine. You see, Holly sent a picture of the pup to her husband, and his reply left Holly feeling sick. "That is no puppy," her husband wrote. "You need to get out. Now." Holly felt sick to her stomach. If this puppy wasn't actually a dog, then what was it? She frantically replied to her husband asking what it was, while this animal was sat across from her. When her husband informed her what it actually was running around in her living room, Holly knew she had to make a run for it. Holly tried to move to the front door, but the puppy growled viciously. Time was running out for her. She messaged her husband begging him to come home, and he replied saying he was on his way. Quickly and quietly, Holly cornered the puppy in the living room and locked the door shut. Her husband was on his way home, but what was she going to do about the animal in the living room? She had no idea what was coming. She waited and waited for her husband, but 25 minutes passed, and he still had not shown up. Perhaps it was the Saturday afternoon traffic? Then suddenly, Holly heard growling and a thud. The animal locked in her living room was ripping its way through the door. Just as the animal tore a piece of the door off with its razor-sharp teeth, Holly's arrived home. Quickly, Holly yelled out, "I'm in here." Holly's husband ran inside and saw his frightened wife, and a glimpse of the animal ripping their door. Just like Holly, her husband was equally lost for words. This animal was no dog. It was something much worse. You see, the animal that Holly brought into their home was not a dog. Far from it. It was actually a coyote. And coyotes are not at all suitable for being a pet. Holly's husband knew he had to act fast. In a matter of minutes, this angry coyote would rip through their door and charge straight at them. Time was running out. Holly's husband got out his phone and called animal control, and they responded saying they would be there ASAP. Finally, the animal control team arrived and managed to safely and securely remove the coyote from Holly's home.